going to start, like most of my cake pop videos, start with some basic instructions on how to make cake pops. So if you already know, then I suggest you jump ahead a little to get right to the actual cake pop itself. You crumble up some cake into a large bowl, and you need something to bind all those crumbs together. Now I'm using commercially made chocolate fudge frosting. You could use homemade frosting or even something like Nutella to bind all those crumbs together. And you need to add enough to make sure the crumbs do stick together. Now I didn't measure it, I'm kind of eyeballing it here because I've made these before. But if you have a 9 by 13 inch size cake, you add about 1.5 cups of frosting to that. Is about enough frosting. And then you blend it together until the frosting is evenly distributed. And when you give it a squeeze and it stays together, you probably have enough frosting in there. But you will learn from experience when you have enough and when you don't. Then take a little bit of the mixture and squeeze together until you get a ball shape. And then put them on a cookie sheet covered with a silicone mat or some waxed paper. The ball shapes usually are around 1 inch to 1.5 inches in diameter. And of course you can make these in any shape you want. It doesn't have to be ball shape. The sucker sticks are paper or lollipop sticks. I bought these at a craft store. Dip them into a little bit of chocolate or candy melts and then poke them into the cake ball about halfway. Then you're going to refrigerate these until they are well chilled. You can do this by putting them in the refrigerator or even in the freezer. You don't want them frozen. You want them very well chilled. And then you're ready for the dipping. Hi, today I'm going to do something I'm going to call a demonstration rather than a how-to, because not everyone can find these where they live. I'm using this Wilton sprinkle set. It comes with triangles, little chocolate sprinkles, and little ovals. It costs $6.99 and it was at my local bulk food store that sells cake decorating supplies, but I've also seen it on the wilton.com website as well. First, you need to cover the cake pop balls. I'm using candy melts. These have been melted in the microwave at 50% power until they are liquid. You might have to add a little bit of shortening or low taste vegetable oil if it's too thick. And then just coat the cake pop ball. Tap off any of the excess and then stick it into something for it to harden. I'm using an actual cake pop stand, but you can stick it into a block of styrofoam or even into a cardboard box that has had little holes poked into it. And then let that harden. For the cat, it's orange. Now the best thing to do is to have candy melts that you can dip your cake pop stick in straight up and down instead of having to turn them. But I'm just using a very small amount, so I have to kind of turn it into the bowl. And then sometimes this will happen to you. The cake pop stick might come out. If that's the case, dip it back into the candy melts, put it back into the cake pop, let it sit for just a couple of seconds. And if your cake pop ball is chilled enough, the stick will adhere right back onto the cake pop, and you can just continue on. On to the yellow one, which is a little yellow chick. And one thing interesting that I've noticed when I was making these, and other people have mentioned to me, different colors have different thicknesses or viscosity or whatever you want to call it. Some of them just seem to dip better than others, and I have no idea why that is, because it seems to be all the same product, right? Anyhow, the best thing to do is as soon as you dip the cake pop, start decorating right away if you can. Sometimes that's not possible, because if you start decorating right away, the little sprinkles will just stick on right to the cake pop, and you won't have to dip them into some candy melts before putting them on. So I put on 2 little triangles for feet, 2 triangles for the beak of the little chick, and then for the wings and the little feathers on the top, they are yellow ovals. That last one, I wasn't fast enough. I had to dip it into a little bit of candy melt and then just kind of press and hold until it hardens enough, and then let go, and then a little bit of black for the eyes. And that's it. Very simple, but really cute. Now you can also use tweezers for the sprinkles if you find it too hard to handle with your fingers. I just dip that into a little bit of candy melt and then onto the cake pop and just press and hold a little bit. For the eyes and the nose and the muzzle details, I'm using a little bit of black frosting. I buy it ready-made in a tube. And this particular tube, you can actually put the writing tips directly onto them. So it's really, really handy and really fast to use. So finishing off the little dog with the black frosting. And the last one is the cat. For the cat, you use little orange sprinkles for ears, a yellow oval for the muzzle, and some chocolate sprinkles for the whiskers. And of course, all of these have been dipped into some melted candy melt to allow them to stick to the cake pop, and then a little bit of black frosting for the details of the face. There's the completed chick and the little blue dog, which is my favorite one out of the three. And the little cat, which I find looks more like a fox than a cat. I think that's because of the shape of the cake ball. It would be better if it was a little bit smaller. There are the completed cake pops along with the sprinkle set. Review of the sprinkle set, they're really useful. I mean, there's really a lot of different things that you can use these little sprinkles for. Price-wise, they're fairly expensive. I think the addition of the chocolate sprinkles in there is kind of silly. You can buy chocolate sprinkles anywhere. And I think that the little whiskers on the cat would have been cuter with some chocolate frosting or some black frosting instead of the sprinkles. However, if you're looking to make some little cute cake pops for a kid's party, the sprinkle set would be perfect for that. If you can't find the sprinkle sets where you live, you may be able to improvise by using candies or maybe gumdrops that have been cut into shapes or some fondant to decorate your cake pops with. So if you have this sprinkle set, give it a try.